In the summer of 1887, a construction crew in rural Pennsylvania dug up a coffin. Inside was a girl. She had been underground for 3 days. The coffin had no air holes. She was still alive. And nobody, not then, not now, not ever, has figured out who put her there or why she didn't suffocate. That's the mystery. But the real question is worse. How is it possible she survived at all? Let's talk about how long you can actually hold your breath. Most people manage about 90 seconds before panic sets in. A trained freediver, maybe 5 minutes, past 8 minutes and your brain starts dying, past 10 minutes and you're gone. Now imagine you're in absolute darkness, underground in a wooden box, sealed shut, no air holes, nothing but the sound of your own breathing getting faster, shallower, more desperate. That's what happened to her. June 1887. A work crew breaking ground for a new foundation in Exeter Township, Pennsylvania, population maybe 3,000 at the time, smaller than a modern shopping mall, struck something wooden about 4 feet down. They dug around it. It was a coffin, a small one, child-sized. When they opened it, they found a girl. Maybe 10 years old, maybe 12. Nobody was ever certain. She was unconscious but breathing. Barely. Her skin was grey, her fingers were curled. She had been down there for 72 hours, 3 days. That's 320 minutes of darkness and recycled air that should have run out after the first hour. The local doctor who examined her, his name was recorded, which is almost the only useful detail we have, found something he couldn't explain. Her pulse was slow, too slow. Her breathing was shallow, too shallow. It was as if her body had downshifted, gone into something like hibernation, something that shouldn't be possible in a human child. He had no answer. He documented it. She recovered. And then she vanished from the historical record entirely. Here's the scale of how forgotten this is. The Exeter Township Historical Society has one sentence about it in a ledger from 1903. One sentence. 16 years after it happened, somebody decided it was worth writing down and they gave it a single sentence. That's how thoroughly this was buried, no pun intended. We don't know her name. We don't know how old she was. We don't know if she remembered anything after she woke up. We don't know if she ever spoke again. But we do know this: her coffin was made of pine wood, cheap and thin. Under normal circumstances, a sealed wooden coffin the size of a child's casket would consume all available oxygen in approximately 45 minutes to an hour. After that, you're breathing carbon dioxide, your body panics, your heart races. Oxygen deprivation to the brain accelerates. You lose consciousness around the 3-minute mark of pure CO2 inhalation. She didn't lose consciousness for 3 days. So the question isn't just who put her there and why. The question is, what allowed her to survive something that medically should have killed her in less than 2 hours? There are theories, bad ones mostly. Some historians, and I use that term loosely, have suggested she was in some kind of coma or trance state that slowed her metabolism so dramatically that she barely breathed at all. There's no medical mechanism for that. The human body doesn't just turn down like a dimmer switch. Others have suggested the coffin had a crack in it. Air leaked in, but the crew that found her documented it as sealed. They were specific about that detail because it seemed important to them. They knew they were looking at something impossible. And then there's the explanation that nobody says out loud but everyone thinks about. The coffin wasn't sealed when she was placed in it. It was sealed after she was put in, by someone who was watching, who knew when to close the lid, who knew she was down there, which means somebody was monitoring her. Someone was counting the hours, someone knew she would be found, someone was testing something. Listen to the language the original documents use. They don't say accidentally buried. They don't say lost child. They say interred without knowledge. Interred, the word they use for intentional burial, the word for a ritual. Here's what makes this unsettling. It happened during a specific historical moment. The 1880s were when the fear of premature burial was reaching a kind of cultural fever pitch in America. People were obsessed with it. They were buying safety coffins, coffins with air tubes and bell systems inside, so if you woke up buried alive, you could ring a bell from inside your own grave and someone would hear it from above ground. There were coffin companies marketing anxiety. There were doctors writing papers about how common premature burial supposedly was. There was a whole industry built on the terror of being buried conscious. And then in 1887, in rural Pennsylvania, somebody actually did it, deliberately to a child, and built a coffin that should have killed her in 2 hours. And she survived 3 days, and nobody ever found out why. The girl, because that's all we'll ever call her, the girl because we don't have a name, survived. She was taken to a local home. She didn't speak for weeks. When she finally did, she couldn't remember anything. Not her name, not how she got in the ground, not who put her there. She remembered nothing before the darkness and nothing after until she woke up in a doctor's office with sunlight on her face. She died 13 years later at age 25 of what the records list as failure of the mind, which is not a medical diagnosis, which is code for something else entirely, something they couldn't explain and didn't want to. And the coffin, it was destroyed. No photographs, no physical evidence, just gone. So what we are left with is this, a mystery that shouldn't exist. A girl who survived the unsurvivable, a coffin that was deliberately designed to be a sealed box, and a historical record that decided, collectively, deliberately, to forget about it. The real question isn't what happened to the girl. The real question is why someone in 1887 Pennsylvania thought this needed to happen, why someone wanted to know how long a child could survive in absolute darkness with no air, why someone had the patience to wait 72 hours to find out, and whether they were disappointed, or if they found exactly what they were looking for.